Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May 20th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good, feeling pretty great, so no complaints. I've been sleeping like shit this week, but that being said, I at least got like a good, we'll call it like a nap. Yeah, it's a nice nap, and so my sleep feels regulated for at least the time being until I gotta lay back down. But all in all, good. We're feeling good. Food corner. Okay, we actually do have a little bit of things to talk about. I made Brenner, and this version of Brenner for the night. I initially the inspiration was I'd realized that I hadn't had the Waffle House sensation, the Waffle House burger. So essentially, like, you can't actually order it. You were supposed to, like, someone had did a custom order that some sad, naive Waffle House let's just say kind too, because they did the most for this person, and people would do this until they finally said stop. But essentially, you would get, I think it was like two waffles, or maybe it's because the waffle is big enough you can do it this way, but you would just make it into a whole burger, a waffle burger. And I was like, damn, that looks so good. But it's just unnecessary to obviously go order one. I'm broke as fuck. I ain't got time for that. So I was like, oh, I'll make one at home. But the problem was I only had enough batter for one waffle. And though my waffle was like pretty big, I would have had to like kind of just cut it and then like, do. I was like, you know what? By the time I got through all the logistics of it all, I pretty much said, fuck it. Let's just make burgers, hot dogs, and a waffle. And we'll have some bacon, fries, chicken. I ate a lot. I was like, fuck it. Let's just make a fucking meal, throw a waffle on top of it, call it a day. So that's what we did. It was good, worked out. Still, the waffle burger eludes me. Let's go ahead and take my little break, and then we'll do some news. All right. All right. From the AFP, bereft but alive. Dazed residents clean up after Italy floods. I lost everything except for these pajamas," said Fred Asozuzwa, bewildered and covered in mud, as he surveyed the mess left of his home after Italy's deadly floods. Um, but me and my family, we are alive. I thank God. We are okay. Uh, that is also from a let's see. Oh, it's also from Fred. Yeah, but yeah, a total of 14 people have been confirmed dead in the floods. Uh, the latest, a man in Faenza, Faenza. Man, Italian is hard. Faenza, a picturesque city usually surrounded by green pastures and vineyards, but this week left largely underwater. Um, so yeah, I mean, I had heard about this earlier in the week. One of the streamers I actually wake up to is an Italian streamer, and he was saying, "Hey, like I actually like had to stream a little bit later. My garage flooded," and I was like, "Oh shit, that's crazy." And just to see how the exact damage of everything, like seeing pictures and everything, yeah, it's just definitely a big mess. Stories of people trying to literally sweep out mud with a broom. Like, as futile as it is, it's literally the only thing you can do. So you're just trying, you know. So obviously a nasty development. Though I think at least the city itself is recovering as of now. So that's good. But obviously a lot to pick up the pieces. Let's see. And some other news, also from the AFP. Cyclone Mocha, death toll reaches 145 in Myanmar. Now, this was a story I kind of expected to be a little bit like any other weather story I've kind of covered, But with the AFP, it definitely added a little bit more context that I didn't really know, in terms of just some of the tensions between peoples in Myanmar. We've done a little bit of coverage in Myanmar. Naturally, it's a military ruled area, so the junta is putting out the numbers. So that's kind of one thing they really talk about. So the death toll, according to them, is 145. But when you actually talk to other town leaders and things like that, they're like, "Oh, no, 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 no! Like I have 100 people in my town alone who were killed or who are missing or are dead." Let me just read. A Rohingya village leader previously told AFP that more than 100 people were missing from his village alone following the storm. Another leader based in Rakhine, state capital of Sitwe, told the AFP that at least 105 Rohingya had died around the city, with counting still ongoing. So it's definitely like the junta is like played down the numbers. Also, they do not refer to the Rohingya as like the name that they would like to be called. They have another name that they refer to them, and they only say that 117 people have died. And then there's also been 24 locals, so people that they say it's like actual people that should be there, and then 4 soldiers. So it just kind of adds like I guess what I'm assuming is like racial tensions or not racial tensions, but like just where you're from. These people are from here, so they're other, and this is one of those situations where they're kind of being persecuted, and that's obviously very fucked up. The Rohingya are from Bangladesh, and they're denied citizenship and access to healthcare in Myanmar, and require permission to travel outside of their own townships. So they're, obviously their rights are heavily infringed upon here, and obviously that's very upsetting. But it's not surprising, just looking at what I've, gleaned from things going on in Myanmar in terms of, the junta. They are definitely, ruling with an iron fist. I feel like that's the way to say it. Let's see, but more about the cyclone. The cyclone had left at least 800,000 people in Myanmar in need of emergency food aid and other assistance. Let's see, and that's according to the United Nations Food Program. The cyclone has made a bad situation much, much worse for millions of people who are already struggling to cope with precarious conditions. So yeah, it's not good. Obviously bad weather. I to be honest, weather is not something I necessarily love covering, but especially in the situation of Myanmar, I'm kind of glad I did, just because I learned a little bit there. But it's crazy. I mean, you can talk about the global warming and things like that. I really feel like going forward, that's more or less just a baked in quantity. I feel like if you're not doing that, then that's kind of weird. Like, oh, this crazy weather we're having. Like, no, dude, this is just we're on a dying planet. We're like literally killing it. I think there was some other news that's come out this week related to that in terms of like climate change. Like, hey, like we actually are showing you more evidence here that like the world is getting warmer and we can't stop it. It's literally like it's hard locked now, and you're going to be seeing more and more damage, more and more bad weather. But I mean, it's going in a whisper. People don't care. They just don't want to give a shit. So anyway, let's talk about some more international shit, international news. Oh, excuse me. From The Guardian. There's the rest of that burp. This is in part 1, part 2. Greek government under fire after video shows pushback of asylum seekers. Pushback. This is a new term for me. I fucking hate it. It's like a pillow version of what the fuck is happening. So let me describe pushback as according to me. Essentially, it is where Greece, the country, is saying we do not want asylum seekers, migrants coming to our country. So like we're literally going to kick them out, physically kick them out. Like in the situation that's supposed to be the pushback that they deem to be legal, when you're in international waters, let's say your boat, your transportation that's coming into the country, we see it, we stop it, we say no, you're not coming here, and we physically detain you, and we like push you out. And I imagine the situation, you're stuck there until another country kind of comes and picks you up where you're supposed to be taken or what have you, but you were literally pushed out of the country. You were pushed away. Which in this day and age where you have literal asylum laws, and like these are like supposed to be things that are kind of hard and fast across the world, but you know, there are countries that go, no, we're gonna tweak it a little bit, we're gonna do a little bit here, and they use those liberties to literally just say, no, we're going to exile people. Like, you can't come here. Our borders are hard as fuck. Don't try it. And essentially, Greece was like, he wanted to say he wanted to say Greek. Greece was like, oh, we will do a situation where, like I said, if it's international waters, well, you can't come. Sorry, like it's cringe, but whatever, we don't care. But this was different. This was a whole nother level. This was a situation where not they had gotten past international waters, they were on land, and they were literally forcibly kicked out of the country. They were put in a van. That van was put on a boat. That boat was then put out on a raft, and they were forced to wait until I believe Turkish authorities, had came and taken them. And this was recorded, and it really just shows like, hey, you guys are clearly lying about this shit. And this takes place, I believe, like 2 days before polls open up for Prime Minister Kyriakos. I'm gonna fuck this up. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, which is a center-right administration. No surprises there. Granted, I'll keep going. I mean, really, it's not. I say center right like that fucking matters. It really doesn't matter whether you're right or left here. When it comes to most administrations, they do not give a flying shit about immigration. But yeah, I mean, they're under it now. We'll see if people actually vote and give a shit. They might be okay with it. I have no idea. And what I mean by that is like, sometimes when you look at the populace, they go, oh yeah, that's so bad. Oh yeah, like you'll see some like outrage. But overall, people will still vote the same people who made these policies, made these things happen. They okayed it. And that really is frustrating, but that goes back to the thought I have on this podcast a lot, that like, yeah, you might be a liberal person, I might be a liberal person in my head, whatever, but like, when you look at your state, when you look at your actual country, whatever, there's a strong leaning in a lot of cases to being like social conservative. And where you just kind of play up this idea that like, yeah, we can understand there's problems in the world, blah, blah, blah. But then you go into all these fucking meanderings about how like, well, that's not our problem. And like, oh yeah, we're doing things that are bad, but like, hey, it helps us out. Like, yada, yada, yada. So obviously this shit to me is disgusting. Like, they literally have a reason to be here. They are fleeing like a hostile situation, and you're like, yeah, but like, fuck that, just get out of our country. And that's just not the way that it should be, even by their own laws, that they've augmented to be like, oh well, if we catch you out in our waters, like, no, these people had made it, so like, you should be giving them asylum, and you're like, no, get the fuck out. On a raft, like literally there are women, children on this fucking raft, and they're like, we don't care, good luck. It's disgusting. So yeah, wanted to cover that. Came up on my radar. Let's see. Not that like this last story is any better, and we're going to obviously coming back to the good old U.S. of A. Our borders. So I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. Anyway, let me go and take our break before we finish it off. Ooh, sorry. It's too good. Mm. Okay. From NBC News. 8-year-old girl dies in U.S. Border Patrol custody in Texas. The number of migrants seeking to cross U.S.-Mexico borders appears to have dropped significantly since Title 42 was lifted. They couldn't wait to tell you that, by the way. That's so fucking weird, by the way. This is a story about how a girl dies in our custody. But, by the way, they can't wait to tell you. They don't want to bury the lead for real. And, hey, Title 42, gone. Title 8, working great, by the way. Ugh. Anyway, let's get into the story. An 8-year-old girl died Wednesday after she suffered a medical emergency in U.S. Border Patrol custody in Texas, authorities said. The girl and her family were being held at a facility in Harlingen near the Mexico border. Customs and Patrol Protection said in a statement. Emergency medical services were called to the station and transported her to a local hospital where she was pronounced dead, the statement said. Adding that the Office of Professional Responsibility would conduct an investigation as is standard in the case of death. Okay, yeah, whatever. The person who died was an 8-year-old girl, Anadith Reyes. And she was from, I believe she's born in Panama. But she had a heart condition. And essentially, her parents were like, look, we need to get her more treatment. We can't get it here. Living is hard. Like, we're in a situation where we need to get her to the U.S. We need to get to America. Santos, who was her aunt, said her mother saw the U.S. as a country of opportunities for her daughter. And that was the reason they went across the border this month. Excuse me. But Anadith wasn't feeling well, and she had tested positive for the flu. And then this is according to Santos. Santos said her mother had taken Anadith several times to be checked out by authorities while in custody. And Wednesday morning, the girl wasn't feeling well again and with pain in her back and shortness of breath. After the mother took Anadith again to be checked out by medical personnel, they took her to the hospital. They left her there in the waiting room, and that's where the girl died. So, I mean, it's one of those things where on the surface, they're going to say, hey, we did everything we were supposed to do. But then when you look at the personal account, that's not what happened. Like, you literally had a girl who was dying and you didn't care. You shrugged it off. You shrugged it the fuck off. And you're going to say, oh, you're going to do an investigation, but you're going to say, oh, we did everything right. Everyone's going to cover their own fucking asses in the story, and it's all going to move along. Because like I said, what's the real fucking lead in the story? Title 42 is lifted, but this new thing, it's working great. And they for sure go out of the way to fucking tell you that. There also was another 17-year-old unaccompanied migrant from Honduras who died last week at a facility run by the Department of Health and Human Services. This was in Florida. His name was Angel Eduardo Miranda Espinoza. And there was a whole investigation for that. It called for a full investigation and a criminal investigation if any wrongdoing was found. So once again, we'll see about that. But here's at the end. Blas Nunez Neto, the Assistant Secretary of Homeland Security for Border and Immigration Policy, told reporters at a briefing Wednesday that the daily average of encounters with migrants seeking to cross the border since May 12th has fallen from more than 10,000 to just over 4,400, including fewer than 4,000 Tuesday and Wednesday. This represents a decrease of 56%, or less than half of the average encountered, in the 4 days leading up to the lifting of Title 42, when the Border Patrol encountered an average of 10,100 individuals each day. So, once again, yada, 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 but a whole person died here. And they also covered that another person died here. It just goes to show the struggle it takes for people to just try to get into a country so that they can have some safety and some solace. And that country saying, we want to do everything possible to keep you from coming here. Even though once you get in here, we want you to work for as little money as we can fucking give you because we could use the help. So yeah, I mean, it's a tale as old as time, and it's fucking worldwide. I would like to see more people upset about that, more people outraged about that, and for that to affect, and you see that in our politicians, and not just in America, everywhere, but you know, more of a talking point. I don't know, probably less of a thing. But thank you so much for tuning in. And I do have a Patreon if you'd like to support this little scuff podcast that I do. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. You get access to bonus content. You get the 100%. I do one episode every week, usually. So you get access to all that content. And then also you get a hot link to the Discord. I will say the Discord is free. Just have to hit me up for that. And you also become a newsie shout outs. I say your name on the podcast once a month. And then I also shout out our project you're doing. So, that's the thing. Also, free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Also, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. On the Instagram, I'm on the YouTube. So feel free to, hit the subscribe, the bell, the likes, the follows, all that fun shit, wherever you're listening and trying to interact with me on. So yeah, I really hope that whenever this finds you, it finds you, once again, it finds you well, and that you're having a nice sunshiny day. Hopefully the weather is good for you where you are, when you are. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.